Hi everyone, welcome back to Rifts.
Hi.
We're getting
Yay.
yay.
I'm back
Yay,
up and
Rift Day.
running. Yay.
You are.
No more
You
loud
are.
squeak.
You are. No more loud squee, just regular squee.
Yay.
So, when we last left off, we were doing this 4-month. We just came off a 6-month time skip, but this is we're talking about what's going on the 4 months since these our fine intrepid characters arrived at L Zone Prime, where they found out that they have an opportunity to go into orbit and then beyond that space itself. So first things first, how about I confirm your skill selections, guys? I got Burn, I got yours, right? But I just want to know, I just want to touch base on that first real quick and see if you have any questions or if you've all come to a consensus with what you want to pick. And if you have that on your character sheets.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Sweet. So what did you end up getting, Criana?
Hang on. Why don't someone else go first? Because
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. So I got movement 0G, recycle, salvage, and cyberjacking.
Cool. All right. Yeah, and you have the Cyberjack implant as well. Cool.
Okay,
What did you
I got
get?
mine.
Okay, what did you get, Criana?
I got combat zero gravity, and that's just there's no basic or advanced. It's just
combat zero gravity. Yep.
okay. I have interplanetary navigation.
Cool.
I have vacuum survival, and then I have mining.
Cool. Very cool. Also, by the way, you know what? Because this might come into it. Also, add into your character sheet as a bonus, zero gravity movement. Because I mentioned as a crazy, you won't get penalties for moving in 0G.
Okay.
But I just know I'm going to be like, and you're in 0G. Who has the skill? And you'll be like, I don't have the skill. And then I'll be on autopilot and forget that you have mind over matter implants and be like, well, you get this penalty. So this way, this kind of gives you, for lack of a better word, the bonus skill. But it's not really a skill. It's an ingrained ability of your implants. But c'est la vie. It'll just be so much easier when that happens, right?
Yeah.
And what did you get, Squee? What did you decide on?
I got movement 0G. I got the EVA suit.
Okay.
And I spent my other 2 skills on jury rigging to get jury rigging up to 35%.
Okay, cool. So for those of you who didn't know, like when we did character generation, I allowed for a rule that you can pretty much use up a skill slot and give another skill a 10% bonus. We asked me if we could do it in this case, and I said yes. It would just emulate in game. Al spending even more time learning this skill set, right? So instead of spending 1 month learning it, he spends 2. Right? So he's a little bit better. Okay, so now that we have that, and we already have you guys have a general idea of what you're taking with, right? You've all decided on the big stuff that you want to leave behind, like the behemoth, a few other things. I mentioned this is a pretty big adjustment. So as mentioned, I mentioned this in a private chat with us, but I also mentioned it here in game, that if there's little tiny things that you haven't decided on yet, or they don't come into play right away, we can retroactively make that decision whether you take it or you don't. We'll do that for the next couple sessions. But eventually you'll be in space and they'll be like, well, too late. It's back on Earth, right? But for the most part, I think the best rule of thumb is assume that you guys are taking it with you unless you explicitly say you don't.
That makes sense.
I think that's the best rule of thumb. That way, I'm not being withholding of anything, And
I think as far as like if I were to face a penalty, I think it would be more fun to face the, well, you brought it and now you're in trouble, as opposed to the, well, you didn't bring it and now you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So
now you don't have it. Yeah. Good point. All right, great. So then now let's move on to the fun little meat of the first section of this session, which is what you guys do during the 4 months. Now, I spent this week thinking about what the NPCs would be doing during these 4 months, more specifically the NPCs being Bear, Alicia, and August. But before I touch into them, how about we discuss in general what you guys would be doing? Now, Burn, I know you have a general idea of what Tom would be doing to help things out there. But, well, how about we just use you as an example then? Okay?
Yep.
So I was hoping, just so we didn't devote huge amounts of time to this, not to role play every single interaction or anything like that, and really talk about it in a more narrative way. Is that something that's fine with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Groovy. All right. So if I recall correctly, you would want Tom to help out as far as scouting goes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this would be from the late spring to the early summer. So, oh my goodness, it'll be like almost a year in game as well as passed. That's pretty neat.
Mhm.
But anywho, early spring, summer, and so you would be going out and helping with the scouting parties. Now, Omar, of course, is the scout, and there's about 3 other scouts as well. From time to time, obviously, members of the security force, including the feline mutant known as Blank, but her full name is Janina, but everyone just calls her Blank. She would be out as well. And it would allow you, Tom, to get to know pretty much a lot of the members of the scouting party. Well, by the end of it, you guys would know a lot of the crew and the other individuals of L Zone Prime. But you probably would learn, have quite a few interactions with Blink in particular. Kind of get to know her. She is a pretty professional individual. She does have a good sense of humor from time to time, but when she's on duty, right? And when she's not on duty is when she can relax. She's very strong. She's very confident, very capable, and kind of a natural leader in a way.
Cool.
She's well respected by practically everybody there, although you probably would have heard some rumors that sometimes she's a little too inflexible. But a good example is that she has set scouting paths for everyone. She's kind of set a scouting area, right? And Omar and a few of the others tend to do that a little bit looser, right? They blend into other areas, or they go out a little bit longer than they should. And they normally get not an earful when they get back, but they normally get mildly reprimanded for such a thing. So yeah, that's in regards to that. Would Tom be doing anything else in particular that you think?
He will want to make sure that either the Behemoth or Hannibal is on the base, so that it's very easy to take care of him. And when he's not out patrolling, which he would constantly offer because of the wide uses of the Mystic Power Armor, which allows you to cloak and do all of this, then he would just be taking care of Hannibal and playing on his guitar. And also learning how to pilot spacecraft, because he actually did a lot of practice with that. And he got so good that he has advanced.
Excellent. Wonderful. Great. Yes, a lot of... there's a lot of opportunities for training to get behind there. They actually, during your training... a few others are trained as well, but they actually you advance so well. You're so dedicated to it, Tom. In fact, that Blank actually takes you aside and she says, if worst comes to absolute worst, and something happens when we try to break the atmosphere, and the pilot or a good portion of the crew is injured, I am right now authorizing you to take the helm if necessary.
Sounds good.
Okay. So there's that. Okay. Now, like I said, we don't have to go into great details. If you don't really know what your character would be doing or what role they would fulfill, don't worry about it. This isn't, you're not being graded by it. But do any of you other guys have a general idea how you would help out at L Zone Prime, or what you would just do in a general sense during these 4 months?
Probably get in the way.
Fair enough. I'm assuming Mila would be a parent most of the time.
Would be a parent.
Sorry, I say a parent. She would be the dominant personality for most of the time.
Yeah. I thought you meant like a mother. I'm like, no.
No. Parent as in arrived, not
Yeah. That's been a long day.
Surprise!
My brain.
You've been immaculately conceived. You're going to give birth to something. Anyway. Probably get in the way. Okay, fair enough. Let me think about that for a moment. Interestingly enough, in the first month, it's seen as understandable. People kind of typically laugh it off, or they don't, get too exasperated with you. They understand it's a new environment. After the second month, and the closer and closer it gets to launch day, not only do you notice that people are getting shorter or a little bit more exasperated with Mila, but very, very often they send you off for very mundane, simple tasks just to keep you out of the way, right?
That sounds about right.
So it would be like, you know what we really need are like 8 really big sticks, right? Around this big. Can you go out and find us these sticks? And when you would bring it back, they would just be like, oh, thank you. That's great. There's another thing for you. And it'd be just these little tiny things. And they would just like throw the sticks away. And you were gone when Mila was gone.
Mila was like, I'm helping.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the plan. In fact, when it gets to about the last month or so, when you're not learning anything, Johanna gives Mila like a schedule of things that she can do to help out, to make sure like Mila's gone for like 8 hours. So people can really crunch down. If that works right for you. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
All right. Great. Patrick, Al?
Okay. I have a few things. So Mrs. Mams.
Yes, Mrs. Mams.
Patrick would probably need to go off for a bit to find a suitable place, if not back to the original place, which I'm not quite sure how close it was to where we are.
Not close at all.
Okay, so
where you found Mrs. Mams? No, you found Mrs. Mams way back east when you were doing. It was east of Parents Post when we were hanging out with Elock.
All right.
So I don't know if you would go that far east. You could in the 4 months, but then you'd lose some training.
Yeah. Probably just go to the swamp area that was a few miles off.
Mm-hmm. Well, just south and to the east, yeah.
And find a suitable sunken home.
Mm-hmm.
Drop
At this point, Mrs. Mams gained 20% mass at that point, but you're letting her go, huh?
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I would bring Mrs. Mams with us if I didn't know the food circumstance.
Good. That's an excellent point. Since plants are highly valuable up in orbit, they probably want to appreciate something that slowly consumes them and just gains in mass and then multiplies. That's very wise of you. When you rest Mrs. Mams into a sunken log, you see her kind of scoot her sluggy flesh from left to right, as she gets used to her new home. But before you leave, you definitely hear one final, almost appreciative sound of.
It's okay, Mrs. Mams.
Aww.
Yeah. Anywho, anything else there, Patrick?
He's actually going to take minor time away daily to actually shuffle a lot of the equipment that he holds dear but knows that he cannot carry with him into the pocket dimension.
Okay. Excellent. Not a problem. That's easily doable. My only question for you then would be, would you do this to make, when you're alone or relatively just around your compatriots? Or would you be so bold as to disappear into this pocket dimension?
In front of the crew and whatnot?
Yeah, in front of the members of the L-Zone Prime.
He would probably go back to the behemoth whenever this is happening, and would probably make sure that he's not directly in front of somebody when this happens.
Okay, great. Not a problem. Yeah, consider that done. Excellent. Good. Anything else there, Patrick?
Besides that, he's actually quite diligent in studies and does offer any sort of help, if not just about his own scope.
Well, one thing they definitely need, and one thing that was mentioned during the interview, and actually this is one of the prime reasons of taking you guys in, was your amazing ability to repair. You repaired a very, very small shuttlecraft on your own without guidance. If you like, or the opportunity would be presented to Patrick, is that Syl. We didn't really talk much about Syl, or Silanus is his full name, but everyone just calls him Syl. He's the mutant chimp, anthropomorphic chimp, who is pretty much the head mechanic and all in all grease monkey, for lack of a better word. Oh, awful. Of L-Zone Prime. So they would have plenty for you to do. Someone who has such a neck for mechanical feats. Is that something that you'd be open to?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. So there are 4 ships that need to finally get ready. In particular, I'm going to say, Patrick, is that your involvement is to really ensure that the exterior hull is incredibly sealed. As mentioned before, the debris barrier that surrounds the orbit of Earth has very, very fast-moving, very, very small bits of debris, which can cause a havoc for the systems, for hull integrity, right? And so that really needs to be that's a priority. And they send you on into that task force to work on that. Is that something that works for you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you do me a favor right now and roll me while we're talking about it, roll me a mechanical engineering check, please. Make it harder by 20%. Let me know what you got.
I fail by 17.
Okay, all right, not a problem. Wonderful. Just going to make a little note, and we're good. Anything else, Patrick?
I don't believe so. That would probably take a majority of his time.
Okay, great. How about you, Al? Are you muted, Squee? Oh, no, never mind.
No.
Sorry.
Well, I would, Al would focus a lot on using magic in different ways. He realized over the past few encounters that he might be able to do magic now, but he's not used to using it. Like the times when he was healing people, he used his skills because he just wasn't comfortable with magic yet. I think that he would spend a lot of time not just using his spells, which would also kind of explain why he leveled up and got more PPE and that kind of thing, I would think. But using them in ways that are as unnoticeable as possible. After hearing that magic is almost unknown up there, he'd work on ways of using it so that it's not immediately apparent. Like maybe use telekinesis, but use telekinesis on things that he's, say, already carrying to make it easier. Or maybe practice casting the carpet of adhesion in such a way that they don't realize. Like, for example, maybe cast it on the bottom of someone's foot so that when they step down, they still don't know what it is. That kind of thing. But
Gotcha.
that would be kind of like his hobby for the next 4 months.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, definitely doable. All right. Is there anything else anyone else would like to contribute? I'd like to just a small bit of narration, let you know what the NPCs have been doing, if that works.
Sure.
Sounds good to me.
All right, cool. So during the 4 months, we'll start with Bear. So Bear certainly helped with scouting, since that was his foray. That's his foray. Oh my God, and use the right words for things. That's his expertise, right? And with the exception to Tom, who his mystical armor could allow him to get chameleon and fly and whatnot, Bear proved to be the second biggest asset for the scouting group. In addition, it seems that he and Blink have also gotten along very, very well. And at some points, he actually spends as much time with her and Tom, as he does with Mila. All right? Now, space is a very new thing for him, obviously. So he focused on being able to move through it as best he can so it can be as comfortable as possible. So Bear got zero gravity movement and combat, oxygen conservation, and vacuum survival. All right. Alicia has been a consultant for internal security, and she actually helped to resolve a few very minor disputes, and has also assisted in supervising the transport of supplies both to and from and within L-Zone Prime. After a very messy first outing in the zero-gravity chamber, it has also been revealed that she suffers from significant gravity motion sickness. Now, Alicia has been assured that many ships that are manufactured in orbit have at least some form of gravity generator. So she has focused on navigating space and piloting ships. So she got pilot spacecraft advanced, ship-to-ship combat, and orbital navigation. Finally, August has completely immersed himself in both the technology and the atmosphere in L-Zone Prime. Over the past 4 months, a more confident and dare I say even happier August has emerged. He practically lives at the side of Syl, and he's become an unofficial assistant to the mutant chimp. His standoffish and know-it-all attitude has created some interpersonal conflict with L-Zone Prime's small engineering team, but Syl's influence has tempered August with just a touch of humility. August's skills, his new skills, are very tech-based. He got jury rigging, cyberjack, he has one installed as well, satellite systems, and drive repair for ion drives. Cool. Anyone have any questions in regards to that?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Now, I expect you all to memorize this. It will be on the test.
Miss Inferno, my Mrs. Mams ate my homework.
Well, too bad.
It's what you get for doing
in a log, so don't metagame. Even in jokes. God damn it. Just kidding. So I'm willing to speed things along to the final prep week, if that works for you guys.
Sounds good.
Okay. So prep week for L-Zone Prime is 1 week before the anticipated launch day. And this is where everyone starts to get extremely focused and excited. The atmosphere is electric, and everyone is firing on all cylinders. Johanna creates what she calls the wind down, wind up plan. And what that means is that they're going to wind down the resources and what's used in the actual base itself and wind up final preparations and final checks for the spacecraft. All right. This is the transition period in which a lot of elements or technology that was used on the base is transferred back onto the ship. All right. Speaking of the ships, I mentioned this before, there being 5 ships, but over this time frame that you're in, you would know the names and recognize all 5 that you have. All right. So the first ship is the flagship, the main ship right here that I'm pinging on the map. This is called the Vesperia. All right. She's quite large, and she can probably accommodate a good, I'd say, 70% of individuals planning on going into orbit, including yourselves. However, they're not just sending people into orbit, but also supplies and resources that they've harvested from Earth as well. There are also 2 of these medium shuttles right here. There's one called the Trailblazer that is going back into orbit, and then there's one called the Promise. Now, during this wind down, wind up plan, as mentioned before, there's a few outsiders, a small percentage, only about 10% of outsiders of Rift's Earths that aren't going to orbit, but they're going to be using this facility anyway. That was a part of their long agreement to help out these not colonists, but these orbital explorers in exchange for using the facility. The Promise has been completely cannibalized, so that is going to be the remnants of that ship is what's going to be used to power the rest of the facility once everyone has left. Okay, and then finally, there's 2 of these smaller shuttles. One is called the Patience, and the other one is called Little Rascal. And they're all being prepared, making final repairs to be launched. This entire facility is at the base of a mountain, right? But the actual launching area will be obviously outside in a clearing area that has been prepared, in which one ship will launch one after another. All right. Let me just quickly check my notes. So this week is also when Pamel and Lee decide to leave the group. Pamel has decided that she'll make her own way for a while, maybe meet up with another traveling band or something like that. She did enjoy quite a bit doing palm readings and that sort of thing, so she might hitch herself up to another traveling show. She's not too sure yet. She doesn't even know. Maybe she'll go back home for a little while. But Lee also isn't 100% sure where he's going to go next. But thanks to the gains he made from his teacher's salary and the months of sobriety he has, he does confess to you guys one night that for the first time in a really long time, it's hard to explain it, but things are clearer for me now. I'm looking at things with fresh eyes, I suppose you could say, or eyes when I was younger, when I was excited about things. I'll be honest with you, I feel pulls in 2 directions. On one part of me wants to just go out and explore something new, right? Blaze a new path, see what I can get up to. But another part of me is pulling me back eastwards, back towards where Morin is. I'm a little afraid of that. I'm not afraid of Morin, but I'm afraid of slipping back into my old life, into that comfort, especially with all this cash that you gave me. But it's fair to say that I got a new lease on life. First and foremost, with you guys rescuing me from that Splagorth slaving party. But in another way, helping me through some pretty goddamn tough times as far as the drinking goes. So I want to thank you. You know, I can't say Al. Tom. Al, Patrick. You were the best and brightest students I had, but you listened to me and you picked it up pretty quick. Tom, it's kind of weird seeing you still in this body, but you're a pretty strong guy, and you're loyal. And shit, Mila, I don't know what to say to you.
You don't need to say anything.
You have been.
You, Lee.
And he tears up a little bit. He goes, Sometimes I don't think you know what that means, but.
She gives him a hug.
Oh, okay. I'll hug her back. Say, just, I don't know, just stay out of trouble. Don't take any big risks.
Okay.
And I'll keep an eye out for you.
Eh?
If our paths ever cross again.
Sounds good.
Al will nod and he'll say, oh, go ahead, Burn.
I was just gonna say, you take it easy, all right?
That's almost a bit of the problem, though. I was taking it pretty easy back at the Dishonored Priest and New Laszlo. Maybe I actually need a challenge. Maybe that'll keep me honest.
Al would say, before you go, I wanted to say thank you. A lot of times, when you say that you helped someone or changed their life, it's hard to point out to exactly what they're talking about. But there is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that if you hadn't just been as good a teacher as you were, I would have died on that field with Nathan. So thank you.
Lee would give a bit of a nod and he says, and I guess I should thank you right back. Your goddamn stubborn optimism rubbed off a little bit on me, maybe. We'll see.
Al will just smile.
Anything else before Lee rides off into the sunset?
I think we should give the viewers some time to just... Okay, everyone, don't say anything for 10 seconds and let them have their moment with Lee. Okay, all right. Okay, I can't believe you actually guys are going with this. Let's just go on.
I spent the entire time debating.
7 Mississippi.
I thought I could use it 10 seconds to consider what else Lee would say before.
Just shout at
Pretty
Lee as
much.
he goes away. Watch out for unicorns.
Before he leaves, as he packs up his things and whatnot, he takes a moment to have a private audience with Patrick, and between the two of them, he confesses that I didn't really want to say anything to single you out or anything like that there, Patrick, but I always had a really good feeling about you, even when we met back in Laszlo, God, months back. You were kind to me. You didn't, I don't know, I had a good vibe about you, and between you and me, you might be the best student I ever had. I didn't have a whole lot, so don't get that to your head, but you got a real knack for this thing. I mean, a lot of people have the theory and the knowledge, but you got you got the instinct for it too. And I just thought you should know that.
Thank you. I would also let you know, Lee, if things were different, I would have went with you when you asked.
Yeah. I'm almost glad you didn't, though. We would have both been ambushed by Spligorth. That's what I get for being pig-headed. But there's a spell I've heard of. It's just called a clay pigeon, or something of the sense, where you can send a message to someone anywhere on a planet's surface. All right? If you ever learn that, and you're ever back here on solid ground, send one my way. Let me know how you guys are doing.
Will do.
All right, and he brings a hand up to kind of gives your shoulder like a little squeeze and a pat. And he'll scratch his beard a little bit, and he'll be like, "All right, well." Warren used to say, "Don't say goodbye, just say so long." So long. And with that, he will depart. Okie dokie.
As he goes, Al will. As he goes, Al will kind of go up next to Patrick and say, "So I wonder who was his best student."
Warren, I guess.
I suppose.
I think it was me!
God damn it, Tiny Rat. You get the fuck out of this session.
I want to say goodbye!
Oh, okay, fine.
You'll
say
be in
goodbye.
space. Don't even.
You only exist in his head, but sure, say goodbye.
Lee? Lee?
This is completely out of character, by the way. By the way, I'm saying this is completely out of character. Yes. Yes.
Lee?
Yeah.
You were always the one I wanted to kill the least.
Thank you.
Tiny rat? Hug!
Out of all the things. Ah, my ear! Oh, god damn it.
Every time.
Every time I bend down to give it a hug, it
That was
bites
beautiful.
my ear. Wonderful. All right. So, with that, I think we will head over to launch day. Okay. In the caverns, in the smooth, I wouldn't say manufactured, but in the halls of this underground bunker of Elzone Prime, people are preparing to board their ships. All right. Your group, all of you, including August, Alicia, and Bear, have been requested to come aboard the Vesperia, since that will be transporting the most human cargo, for lack of a better word. The other ships, in particular, the Trailblazer itself, will have a lot of the harvested goods taken from Earth, but some of it is also spread amongst all the other ships. So I don't think it's fair to assume that you guys would have any problems with going upon the Vesperia.
No.
Okay,
No,
all right.
no problems.
In fact, I would want to make sure that I'm at least close to the cockpit, just in case I'm needed.
That is that's a little different, unfortunately. Where you are actually brought aboard the ship, how was best to explain it? There's obviously the cockpit near the front, right?
Mhm.
The center section has there's only a few weapons on the Vesperia. Most of them seem to be some sort of cannon that uses an energy type. You're not too sure if it's an ion or a plasma cannon.
Mm.
But in the center is the batteries, and it's towards the back itself is where the rest of the passengers, for lack of a better word, are. Obviously, if there's a problem by the cockpit, you would be able to have access to it. But unfortunately, where you guys are escorted to be for this journey, it's a pretty big distance between the two. Okay?
All right. Fair enough.
No, that's all right. That's all right. The ship itself, when you board the ship itself, it is quite massive. You've spent much of your adventuring lives in the Behemoth, and that itself seemed relatively spacey as far as robots go. Well, this is 20 times that. You can hear the hum of the engines as they start their warm-up procedures, their flight checks, everything like that. Mm-hmm. And the seats that you're escorted to they're not padded, unfortunately, but they're shaped, contoured polyplastic seats themselves. Very, very sturdy, riveted to the ground, with chest straps, 2 straps to go across your chest to secure you to the facility. You are told that once we actually reach orbit, there'll be no need for such straps, but during the high velocities, in order to break through the Earth's atmosphere, it is recommended that you stay strapped down and secure. Okay. Fortunately, you all are positioned nearby a relatively large-ish window, probably about 4 feet in diameter. All right, so you're able to get at least a decent exterior view. All right. Also on NPCs of note that are on the ship, on the Vesperia, is Johanna herself, and Blink is there as well. Later you find out that Dr. Simon Vass, he's going to be on the Trailblazer, since a lot of supplies are medical or require a constant attention in regards to that. Syl, the mechanic, is on the Patience, and Omar is going to be on the Little Rascal. All right. So is there any last bit of business you guys want to do? Because the next scene, I think, is going to be there's no turning back, we'll just say.
Kick the tires and light the fires.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're good? You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was just getting some water here. All right.
Okay.
So, secured to your new seats in this in the bright shining interior of the Vesperia, you can hear over the intercom that the pilot, a masculine voice, is going to be going through his final pre-flight checks as it taxis to the makeshift launch pad that has been created. Of course, the launch pad itself has not been reinforced with any cement or asphalt. The launch pad is just a huge, I'm going to say, 1,000-foot area that has been stripped of all grass and vegetation to prevent any sort of fire once these engines start to boost up. Okay. You can see throughout the window as you taxi out of the darkness of the underground facility into the bright morning sun. It's approximately 8:30 in the morning. You can actually see a bit of the ocean out into the distance. Soon, the final check, the final check is complete, and you hear Johanna hit the radio for a moment, and she says, "This is the moment we have all been waiting for. If anything were to happen, I just wanted you to know that these past 15 years have been the experience of a lifetime. And I'll see you in orbit." And with that, you can hear a small cheer of the masses of individuals inside the Vesperia, the crew and passengers alike. 60 voices rain high. as you can hear the hum and the warmth of the engines begin to fire up completely. And you hear a countdown from 5. And soon, suddenly, the ship lurches forward, accelerating at a huge speed as you can feel yourselves from a horizontal position going straight almost vertically. The pits of your stomachs sink deep, deep, deep down into your bodies until suddenly one additional lurch causes it, almost feels like your guts are up in your throats. Peering out the window, you can see a blue-white atmosphere, and you can see that you have already pierced the clouds. With the exception of the roars of the engines behind you, everyone else is silent. The 60-some-odd crew are all waiting with bated breath as you lurch throughout the atmosphere. Minutes feel like hours, but soon the top speed has been reached and you're able to acclimatize yourselves so you get less of a sickening feeling. But the acceleration is still great. As you peer out the window, you can see the landmass itself get smaller and smaller. The mountain that you are under now seems just like a speck in the horizon. You're about to reach the stratosphere. And soon the first barrier is about to be brought in. Patrick, I would like you to roll me a D100, please. 30. Excellent. Soon, over the radio, you can hear the confirmation that the Little Rascal, Trailblazer, and the Patience have all joined behind you. And you're all, from what you can hear over the chatter and the announcements and the excited whispers amongst the other passengers, that everything so far has gone on without a hitch. And you can feel the optimism. But that murmur, that chatter starts to die down when it's clear that beyond this stratosphere lies the debris barrier. Minutes later, you start to hear pinging off the sides of the hull itself. At first, it just feels like, or sounds like, sand hitting metal, right? Akin to a sandblaster hitting a car, right? But soon, the sound of sand upon metal is heightened, as if harder, more solid clangs start to hit across the hull. The Vesperia lurches to the left and right a few times, as clearly some evasive maneuvers are being taken. And soon, the entire ship is rattling. You call back, remembering the behemoth and the hailstorm that you sustained. But that seemed peaceful in comparison. Your ears are filled with the sounds of crashing, as if you're in a tin can and it's being pummeled at all sides by icy flecks of rain. You hear someone on the opposite side of you, to the port of you, looking out one of the windows, and you hear them yell, looks like the Little Rascal is leaking something. And people strain to take a look through the windows itself. The chatter of you get most of the rest of your information from the chatter of the crew, and as rumors eventually come throughout your ears overtop the crashing noise, is that the little rascal and Trailblazer did sustain some damage due to the debris storm. But thankfully, through radio communications with the crew, the repairs have happened rapidly and has not affected their overall velocity. Thankfully, the 4 ships have breached the debris ring, and now you're able to hit space proper. Let me just send you over to a picture. Ooh. The vantage point is something that, well, I'll leave it up to your characters, but no one born on this current Earth, very, very few people perhaps, have ever seen Earth in this light. Amidst underneath the rolling clouds and the shimmering sea, you do see small blue streaks of light energy, some of them burning so bright that you can see them this high up. And now, my friends, we're about to hit the second barrier. You can see off in the distance of the orbit, in the blackness of space, small shimmering lights, blinking lights, some red, some orange, some rotating. And it's clear, as you were debriefed, that these are most certainly satellites. And I would like, let's say, Criana, I would like you to roll me a D100, please.
Okay. Yeah.
85. All right. The ships, the 4 ships, your 4 ships, continue to burn throughout this new vacuum atmosphere, heading straight into an unknown direction. And your pristine image of Earth is interrupted as an explosion can be heard. It seems to be coming from the left. I'll say I'm horrible with ship terms. I'm going to have to learn this for the sake of this campaign. But from I'm going to say the front left of the ship, an explosion can be heard. Thankfully, not in the interior cabin, but in the exterior, as it rocks to the right. And in fact, it does 2.5 spins in orbit, in response to this massive attack. Panicked voices start to cry out, and the crew starts to reach their battle stations. The white bright light is soon shimmered to a warning yellow, and then to a combat-ready red. And in this red light, you are told by the crew for everyone to stay where they are, and stay strapped in. It appears that you are being attacked, not by a ship, but by a hunter-destroyer satellite. Something went wrong, you can hear panicked voices said. The codes were wrong. It's the wrong satellite, maybe. Suffice to say, you are under attack, and the ship sustains 4 more massive hits. Thankfully, the Vesperia is not only the flagship, but also the most armored and protected, and with some of the largest engines. And although that hunter-killer satellite, with its large nuclear warheads, managed to strike you, it avoided damage to the other ships. Thankfully, the Vesperia finally limps out of range. But the damage is considerable. At this point, you can Vesperia. That's the name of the ship, Inferno, not the NPC. Johanna lurches to the back from the front of the ship itself, and she addresses everyone, all the passengers, and she says, anyone who is mechanically inclined, we need your assistance. We're out of danger, but if any other ship comes across us in this vulnerable state, we want to be in our best. We want to be best prepared. We need to continue our trajectory straight to the outcast station. So, now Inferno says, out of character, who would like to volunteer to help out to sustain the damage?
I will.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say, do you have any skills?
I was gonna just do it really dramatically and have everyone people.
It's
I'm
okay,
here
everyone. Mila's here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Squee.
I can't help.
Well, you say that, but I'll get to you in a moment there, Bernie.
Yeah.
Burn.
Patrick or Al. Would you guys like to help out if you can?
Inferno, you just came up with a ship name for them.
I know, Altric.
Eldrick, yeah.
Al would like to help out. However, given that he knows that his skills are more of a patch than a fix, he would search out or request.
We need patches.
Right.
We need any assistance.
He would say he'd basically use him for the least essential things that you need fixed, if that makes sense. Things that are still important, of course, but he should probably not be patching up the engine or something.
Yeah, gotcha. Patrick.
Patrick will help.
Okay, so I would like you guys to give me some skill checks, and then I'll get to you there, Burn.
Ooh, I succeeded by 28. I rolled a 7.
Oh, wow.
Woohoo.
Wow, good job.
And I'm assuming I'm still using electrical engineer.
Yeah.
Going to probably have same penalty and failed by 20.
Okay.
Pretty consistent there.
Well, there's something that can be said for consistency. Tom, Blink comes to you, and she rests her hand on your upper arm, and she says, Topher, our co-pilot, he's been injured. He's been stubborn, but he has a pretty bad head wound. I'd rather you help guide the ship than than someone hurt. You up for it?
He will nod and immediately unbuckle and start getting ready to head out.
Okay, well, she escorts you to the front of the ship itself.
Yeah.
So I will describe what happens in 2 parts. The repair team and then the piloting team. Okay? So, suffice to say, people can leave their seats now, but not for the good reasons, but for the panicky reasons. All right. Patrick, unfortunately, the areas of the ship that you try to help has sustained. There's been some minor electrical fires that thankfully have been put out quite well, and you try to assist in the reconnection of some of the electrical devices. All right. Unfortunately, either due to the urgency of the situation, or just the unfamiliarity, or due to the just severe damage that these wires have sustained, you were only able to connect 3 out of the 10 connections necessary until your duties are taken over by another engineer. Okay. Al, there has been significant damage to one of the ion cannons. All right. So at this point, you learn it's not ion or plasma. They're definitely ion cannons. All right. And one of them has sustained crippling damage. And although the turret will no longer be able to turn, it's stuck out at a 45-degree angle, right? But all they need is to just the ability for it to be fired, just as a defensive mechanism, right? Just in case something happens. But there's obviously something wrong. There's some sort of problem between the power supply and the channel in which the energy is converted and then flows, right? Mm-hmm. You are able to offer a suggestion as a quick fix, mind you, only for a few hours, but a way to reroute the power so it goes through less optimal channels and the ion rays come out in a more concentrated form. It might do some damage to the internals, but the head engineer decides that that's worth the risk.
Can
right?
I
it
have
can
a
always
little...
get Yeah, yeah.
Can I have a little creative narrative there, or?
Yeah. This is a 2-part thing. I'm just putting stuff out there. What's up?
I was thinking a perfect thing, and this would be something Al might think of, is that if the problem is that the firing mechanism is having a problem, maybe a short out or something like that, he can find a way to jam his neural blade in there so that it kind of connects what needs to be connected, and then you could fire it by activating the electrical charge.
That might completely destroy your neural blade.
Yes. If it needs to be fired, it would be worth the risk.
Okay. If it needs to be fired. So we're going to keep that in mind. So if those ion things fire, then I'll roll a percentage, and you might delete a neural knife. Okay? But that works for me. That's a good explanation. I like it. I like it a lot. All right.